that reach here, you think? Well, I guess we've got that in it already, I just don't know what the line. Right, I know, that wasn't part of my contract.
Am I gonna have
Oh, you're good.
Well, maybe just swear in.
Well, we'll have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take it as we see it.
We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Emmerich,
Here.
Knauer,
Here.
Longquest,
Here.
Burtmeister.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will be right back.
Okay, we're gonna jump around the agenda to begin with, as we have some business to take care of. Do we need, is that camera on?
Yes.
Okay. We are going to skip down to, under miscellaneous, exchange of officers. As we recently had an election, we received the official election results from the treasurer, from the Logan County Clerk, I believe, yesterday. I have a small resolution here to read, resolution to recognize Daryl Knauer and Aaron Palmquist for their service as aldermen of the city of Mount Pulaski. Whereas Daryl Knauer and Aaron Palmquist were both duly elected to the Mount Pulaski City Council by its residents. Whereas Mr. Knauer and Palmquist fulfilled their sworn oath as elected officials to the best of their ability. Whereas Mr. Knauer and Palmquist served diligently and provided keen insight on matters pertaining to the city. Whereas Mr. Knauer and Palmquist served on several committees and provided an extra effort beyond the scope of their duties. Whereas Mr. Knauer and Palmquist served their wards with compassion and took the matters of its residents with due diligence. Therefore, now be it resolved that the city honors and recognizes Mr. Knauer and Palmquist's service to this city as elected aldermen, thanks them dearly for their service, and wishes them the best in the future. On that, we will now swear in Mr. Danny Smock, who was duly elected from Ward 3.
Come on up, Danny. Daniel Smock, right? All right, welcome. Why don't you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Daniel Smock,
I, Daniel Smock,
having been appointed to the office of Alderman
having been appointed to the office of Alderman
in the city of Mount Pulaski, County of Logan,
in the city of Mount Pulaski, County of Logan,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
do solemnly swear that
do solemnly swear that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Alderman
of the office of Alderman
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, he would be in your seat. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, sir. Godspeed.
Do we, yeah,
Who else?
it would be Daryl, but we wouldn't have a quorum if he leaves his seat.
Who replaces Daryl?
Darren.
But it's not by election, is what you're saying?
No, it'd probably be, it's by appointment.
Okay, yeah, then vote on it now.
Okay. Moving on to an alderman appointment, as there was an open seat for Daryl. I have chose at the advice and consider the city council to appoint Darren Phillips. Darren serves on the park board. He's a very interested member of the community, and I think he'll do a great job. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve this appointment.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tim, second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Emmerich,
Yes.
Canower,
Yes.
Smock?
Schmock.
Yes.
Sorry. Grandmeister.
Yes.
Okay.
Congratulations, Darren. Please step forward for your oath.
Darren, how do you spell your name
D-A-R-I-N.
and your last name?
P-H-I-L-L-I-P-S.
All right, Darren, repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I, Darren Phillips,
I, Darren Phillips,
having been appointed to the office of Alderman
having been appointed to the office of Alderman
in the city of Mount Pulaski,
in the city of Pulaski,
county of Logan, state of Illinois,
county of Logan, state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear that
do solemnly swear that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderman,
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of
the
Alderman
duties of the office of Alderman
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard, and congratulations.
Congratulations, Darren. Thank you very much, Daryl.
Thank you, Darren.
Now, as a matter of ceremony, I guess, Willie was elected, Tim was elected, and I was elected. So do we need to get re-sworn as elected people, or we've already taken the oath?
No, you guys,
Okay,
I'm comfortable just rolling on.
okay.
You guys have your oath on file, your bond is on file, so no need to redo.
All right, back to the top of the agenda to public comments. Is there any public comments on the agenda items? Moving on to committee reports, police.
We're still working on inoperable vehicles, working with people. That's going really well. I kind of wanted to briefly talk about, we have gotten a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of calls about scam calls, IRS. People calling in, especially the elderly, trying to get them to, just, if you get anything like that, hang up on them, or, you know, anything that just doesn't look right, don't answer it. We've got numerous calls in the last couple of weeks about scams, so I just reassure them, you know, if it doesn't look familiar, don't answer it, let them leave a message, or just hang up on them. So,
Duly noted.
that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else have anything for Tony? Water and sewer. I was not aware that Matt was not going to be here. I guess, do you have anything, Aaron?
We didn't have a meeting because it didn't get scheduled.
Gotcha. Okay. There's several things to talk about down here in miscellaneous that have to do with that, so. Okay, streets and alleys. What also, there's also several things about streets and alleys as well. I guess we'll just kind of handle our committee reports within the miscellaneous business. Finance.
There's the deposits for the last 2 weeks, $23,707.98. And the rest is on the agenda, so I think.
Any questions for Tricia? Is there any public comments on the non-agenda items? Mr. Hild, I have seen that you have wished to speak about Bates Road.
Yeah.
You have the floor,
Quite
sir.
frankly, I'd forgotten about there being new people on here, so I think that I will make another synopsis of our position and get it out to you before next meeting.
Okay.
So, unless your attorney has something to.
He has been in contact per email with IDOT and the, I'll just let you speak.
Yeah, I spoke with, I think her name is Wendy, with Logan County Streets Department. They're in charge of the GIS and they're the ones that keep, as I understand it, sort of an official record of jurisdiction, ownership, control of roads in the county, not just at the county level, but information on state, county, municipal. And they've offered to help do some digging into their records, whatever they've got, to try to shine some light on this situation, so we maybe have some more information. And they're still digging on that. I spoke with them today, and they should have something soon, but you know how county is, so. They're not as efficient as us municipalities, so.
Okay,
But as soon as I hear something, I'll pass that information along to Matt, and I'm sure he'll get back to you.
okay, all right, thank you.
Any other public comments on non-agenda items? Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda. Claims and accounts, Kelly?
Abbott and Associates, $1,582.50. Cat Financial, $1,420.87. Dunn Company, $717.50. INB, $2,112.12. INB Visa, $1,016.22. Martin's Flag, $1,284.81. Title CC Lighting, $1,814, and Water Solutions, $963.47.
Any questions on the claims and accounts? The budget is also under the consent agenda. That is up for discussion. Did everybody get a chance to look at it? You know, time-wise, since we have two new aldermen, time-wise, it would be okay, and that this is obviously up to the aldermen, it's their decision. I believe we have, is it 60 days to pass the appropriations after the beginning of our fiscal year?
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
So we do have plenty of time. So if it's okay with the aldermen, I'd like to remove that from the consent agenda. That way these two get a chance to dig into it,
I'll make them
get a
a
better
copy.
idea about it.
I'll give them a copy.
Okay? Is that okay with everybody? The water loan lump sum payment is on there as well. That was brought up by Mr. Neville. Is there any new discussion on that? Tim, you were on that?
I just got the worksheets from Valerie last Thursday. Obviously, last weekend was a holiday weekend, so I haven't looked at it too closely. It looks like there was some carryover as to what the due to the general fund was. So off the top of my head, from just glancing at it, that more than likely we need to reconcile a few years back to see what that due to is originally coming from, if that's interesting to anybody. Another option is possibly just to forgive the amount. So that's where it currently stands. So, you know, to me, at the end of the day, one of the considerations is that assuming there's an additional 50,000, you know, could the general fund use that money better than paying off an existing, or paying down an existing loan? Those are the questions that the council, in my mind, will be thinking about going forward.
Right. But if the water fund doesn't owe anything, if it's not owed to the general, we can't really just give it to the general fund. I believe that would have to be spent in the business account itself on water and sewer.
Well, the general fund paid it. We got, the water and sewer fund's gotta pay it back.
Okay, I didn't know that there was still, it's under reconciliation of accounts is on the agenda as well. So
Right,
it seems like there's more that needs to come to light on that.
yeah.
If it's okay with the alderman, I would like to remove that from the consent agenda as well. So where we stand, to approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of bills, and that would be it. I would entertain a motion. Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dean. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Down to miscellaneous business, reconciliation of accounts. I know we were talking about that last month, Tim. I mean, is there anything to follow up on what you were saying, or, I mean, have you basically From
I was held up.
what you know, you know.
Yeah, I was held up by Valerie's worksheet, and it's my intention, when time allows, is to look at that further and then get with her to make sure I'm on the same page as what those numbers represent.
Okay.
And then with that information, I think I can make a better presentation as to what all these numbers mean, and hopefully we can make the council can make the best decision based upon being fully informed. So.
All right, more to hear from that. Portable structures. Greg?
The job of trying to figure out some of these city codes kind of gets a little hairy at times. So I want to bring this before the council. And at the end, I think what it's gonna, probably what I would like to see is maybe meeting with the zoning board, zoning committee or something, and actually put some of the stuff in concrete. Portable buildings, there's nothing in the city code that specifically denotes a portable building. And in the past, if you wanted to bring in an 8x10 shed for store your mower and stuff, and it wasn't on a foundation, it didn't require a building permit or anything. Which, I mean, it's not in the code, but that's the way it's always been done. Well, I've got a guy down on East German that wants to build a full-size portable garage that he can pick up and move anywhere he wants. Okay? And I think that, you know, I think we need to look at that. I mean, that's a request that I've never seen in there as a building inspector.
Me neither, I've never heard of anything like that.
And he said he could move it anywhere, but he would put some type of a rock or something in there to drive in on. So I think I need some guidance on, you know, how do we do this? Do we do by square foot, anything, you know, 10 by 12, 120 square feet, anything more than that takes a permit, or, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And that kind of, was there any questions on that?
How big did you say it was gonna be?
His garage, I think, it's gonna be like a 2-car garage.
And he's not gonna build a foundation for it?
No,
And it's not gonna be attached to the ground,
no.
therefore it's
Not a permanent
somehow
structure.
portable.
But the city code does not specifically mention portable buildings.
Right.
As far as big as that is, I think that's something structurally you'll have to look at, the wall supporting itself and not blowing out the sides. I don't think that's feasible, in my opinion. I think we need to look at the size, and
And that's why I thought of square footage.
they do make some very large portable sheds. I do know that are on skids. I know in the past, dealing with my father's construction company, and you know, anything that did not have a foundation did not have to have a building permit.
Right.
But whether everybody decides what they want to do, but that's what I know of it in the past.
So there is really no guidance in the city code for a portable building. Okay? And I'm perfectly happy with saying that a portable building, if you want to move it in to store your lawnmowers and all that kind of stuff, doesn't have a foundation, so I think it should be, we should have something in the code that touches on portable buildings, and I think by square footage, you know, find out, you know, 10 by 12, that's 120 square, that's a pretty good portable building.
Right.
Anything above that, even if it's portable, I think should have a building permit. That's kind of what I'm thinking, really.
Yeah, I don't know how you could keep from the walls blowing out on the bottom.
Well,
That's what I would be afraid of, somebody being underneath there and collapsing.
So we need to take a look at the code, figure out a square foot wise, and if that requires for them to have a building permit and inspected by you, you know, I would, like you said, I wouldn't want to make sure something that big is safe.
right.
I mean, obviously, the structure would have to follow all the rest of the codes as far as dangerous buildings
Well,
conditions.
and I don't know if he's gonna have electric in there, I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, he and I did quite a bit of talking. He's quite a guy. I mean, he's kind of interesting to talk to. And he's got this all pretty well thought out. I think I kinda know what's behind why he wants it portable, but I don't know that for sure, so I'm not gonna say. But I would like to see something in the city code that specifically addresses portable buildings. So my job, Matt, is I wanna apply the same rules to everybody equally. You know, I don't wanna let one guy do something and then tell another guy that he can't, because there's nothing in the code. I really, I don't want that latitude. I want everything to be treated the same. Which kind of morphs into my next one, unless anybody has any more questions on portable buildings.
Have you looked at other cities' codes? Do they have portable?
I talked to Logan County zoning, somebody,
Will do that.
Will DeAndre.
Will DeAndre. And he said that the Logan County code requires a building permit for a portable building in unincorporated areas of the county.
Right.
But since we're incorporated, we write our own rules. And he said, what do your rules say about portable buildings? I said, well, they don't say anything. So that's,
Definitely something that's, yeah.
yeah, and I think it's very easy to fix. I think, we just kind of come together and maybe work with Willie or something on it and come up with some square footage of what the average is. And after that, requires a building permit, and then that's gonna go to the tax office. If you get the building permit. Even if it doesn't have a foundation.
Would that increase their EAV if it doesn't have a foundation?
That's gonna be up to
That would
the,
increase the property taxes?
Correct.
yeah,
That's correct.
Okay.
okay, and that's gonna be up to the guys over there in Lincoln. But Will said if you're doing this in Chestnut or Lake Fork, it would actually require a county building permit. But any town that's incorporated, it doesn't.
Okay.
Close, is that it? Yeah, so,
I just know that I've looked at, like Monticello or Cerro Gordo or the different cities that are kind of comparable, and some of them have some codes you're like, hey, So it may be worth looking at different cities' codes. There may be one out there that has something that formal and makes perfect sense. So-
I mean, what I've done over the last year and a half, I've had people call me on buildings, and they're just little small sheds. Or if you go to Menards and buy one of them little metal buildings, and put it on the ground and it's not on a foundation, I don't see a reason for a building permit for that, personally. I don't know what the council feels, but I think once it gets to be a certain size, I don't think, even though it's not attached, I don't think it's portable, or I think we need to define what we think is portable.
Okay.
All right. My next thing is setback variance.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Kind of give you a smattering of some of the stuff that I've hit in the last couple of months. Somebody asked me, how far does a fence have to be set back from the sidewalk? I don't know. It's not in the code. Right now, most people are building it right along the sidewalk, which really doesn't provide a problem, but it's gotta be 18 inches from lot line.
It's supposed to be 36 inches from the curb. I've found that before because we had a fence issue down on Spring Street. The fence
Well,
isn't supposed to go, it's from the center of the street, regardless of the sidewalk. The alley's different, that's only like 5 foot.
That's what I got into with Matt, where in another area, the streets are all different widths. So,
Well, it'd just be from the center of the street.
right, center of the street.
Right.
So if you've got a sidewalk on a boulevard, is that from the center of the street?
You can, I don't think it's so much fence, and I don't know what the
Well,
sidewalk, the setback is
I'm
on the
going
sidewalk,
into-
it's not supposed to be over 4 foot high.
Right. And the other thing is, what about properties that were built 100 years ago? I've got a guy, Mr. Milam, down on 313 South Marion. His house is actually built 7.5 foot off the sidewalk. His sidewalk is crumbling. His insurance guy says, we're not gonna insure you until you fix that. And he wants to build a little enclosure over it and build a sidewalk and then go out to the south so he can get to his driveway. But I'm going to be way closer to the sidewalk than anybody should be allowed. And if you look a little farther to the south in the next block, that house is built right on the sidewalk. So, you know, even if we have these setbacks and stuff, if somebody needs to come in and repair something, it's not gonna meet the code, so what latitude do I have?
I mean, if obviously, I mean, in my opinion, it would be grandfathered in from when the code was written if something was that close to the sidewalk. But if he wants to put up a new structure, he has to follow the codes.
So there's
I
no
would-
way that, if he just puts his sidewalk in, he can't follow the code. He's too close, I think he'll be too, well, see, again, that's gonna be from the center of the road, not from the sidewalk. That's what you're saying?
Usually that's how it is.
Okay. Well,
So did you say he was wanting to build, he
okay.
just wants to redo his
On the
sidewalk?
west side of his house, I don't know if you know where he's from.
The west side, yes,
Okay,
which is the street side.
yes. His steps are completely crumbled. And his insurance came to him and said, before we'll insure the house, you have to fix those steps. So if he rebuilt his steps exactly the way they were, I guess grandfathered, we'd have to let him do that. But what he wanted to do was go out maybe another 18 to 24 inches and build a covering so that when he came out of his house, he would be under a little cover to go out to his driveway. So if we go,
Judging by where he is from the center of the street, that can't be over 4 foot high. And the,
Well,
and the
it-
main purpose of that, from my remembering looking at that, is for traffic concerns.
Right.
You know, you can't see.
but it's not gonna be a fence. It would just,
No, I know.
It would just be a roof. He wants to
Right.
put a roof over it and come out a little closer to the sidewalk. But every time I go to one of these, it's different.
Right, right. Well, I can take a look at the code on
Well,
that.
I've looked through it and I couldn't come up with a good answer, other than, when he says, the guy next to me is a lot closer to the sidewalk with his steps and house than mine is. I mean, I said, well, that was then, this is now. I can't,
Does he have a covering over those steps?
No.
See, it's all about being above 4 foot tall. That's the main
Well,
thing
it wouldn't really be a fence around it. He just wants a roof coming.
I know, but it can't be over 4 foot tall. I see what you're saying.
That would come off of his house, right over his steps.
Yes.
It'd be more like an awning.
And it would be like
Like an awning,
It'd
yes.
be way up, it would be way up at the roof level. But he wants to come out towards the sidewalk a few feet past where his old steps are. And he said, how far do I have to be off the sidewalk? Well, that's what I kept hitting here, so I'm just gonna have to get a map of how wide every street. Oh, Henry, you snuck in.
Matt should have that.
So I know we talk about how wide the streets are, and in my mind, that's kind of irrelevant. It really goes off of the property lines. And I think a long time ago, we said the streets are this wide. Whenever the property lines are developed, I think that's what really matters, not, and you can go off the center of the street and get, pretty close, but it's kind of arbitrary.
So, we're talking about setbacks from the property line, which is like 5 foot, like in your house, that was 5 foot from your neighbor.
Yes.
Is that, then when we went on yours to the north, to the front, that had to be the average of all the others, or 20,
Pre-existing
25
or 25 feet.
off the center? And that's how we did it.
Is that the ordinance off the center too?
Off the property line.
25 off the property line.
Off the property line. Now, if you have a boulevard, where's the property line? There's a sidewalk.
Usually it's measured from the center of the street. Isn't it? Or, I mean.
So you can get
yeah.
you can get it surveyed and it's.
I use Logan County GIS, and I tell them if I can't get that person and his neighbor to agree if I'm gonna put a fence, I said, this is the property line. The guy said, that ain't the property line. I said, yes, it is. Yes, sir.
What I've ran into typically, I had my yard surveyed, and I ran into a Lincoln too. Typically, the pins run about 6 inches in from the sidewalk
Towards the street?
toward the house.
Towards the
Toward
house.
property line, yeah.
Correct.
What I would like to come up with is an easy to understand one-page document, getting all this from all places, so when somebody says, what, I got another guy, you know, he wants to build a machine shed down on the south end of town, down by the restaurant, I'm not really sure where yet, a big shed. And he's talking about setbacks and stuff, and, I gave him how far it had to be, from the center of the street. I'd like to work, who's our zoning committee? Do we have a zoning board?
Tim had served on it, Lauren Holmes,
Okay.
Dan Phillips,
Matt Davis.
Jeff Tobias, the new one.
Tim, what do you think? Would it behoove me to sit down with
Marcy's
all of them and come up with something, we use what's in the code and come up with something that everybody?
Yeah, if the council would like to charge the zoning board to work on that with you, that would be fine.
Because I
Or
could
you
get a
could call a
piece,
meeting and discuss it, I would think.
I'd get a two-sided piece of paper that everybody that comes up to the city and says, I wanna do this, what are the setbacks? They say that.
Right,
And it would cover everything that's snagging me.
right.
And then I would be able to treat everybody equally. So,
I think one thing you're gonna have to watch is pre-existing, like your steps. I think you can go back for like on something like that.
that
If
would be,
for something new, you'd have to go by your setbacks and whatnot.
and that would be.
To me.
That would be in the outcome of meeting with them, because it,
Yeah, that'd be fine, and if we need to change the code, we can.
okay.
I mean, at the same time, you're doing a great job, Greg, but even if we do get this one page, we'll get this one page thing, it'll be all good and done, and then the next year, someone will ask something that's not on that one sheet.
Right.
I mean, trust your power, there's a lot of things in there that
I know.
say it's the sole discretion of the building
And
inspector,
I
and we
know.
trust your judgment, so.
But if it's something that I know that is gonna be kind of blatant between person A and person B, and I make a decision for him and I don't for him, I'm trying to treat everybody fair.
Right. Very much so.
And there's a lot of questions that, the setback, like off of a sidewalk for a fence or something, that's really not where it appears that we have to really go. We have to figure out how far it is maybe from the center of the street rather than how far it is from the sidewalk. And there's a lot of people that says, why should I have to build 18 or 24 inches off of a sidewalk?
Because you can mow beside it.
Hmm?
So you can mow beside it, that's
Well,
why.
That's why I know.
That's my understanding of it.
But there's nothing in the code that says that.
Really.
Yeah, you can build something, I mean, as long as it's past the setback, you can build whatever you want, it just can't be above 4 foot.
Right. Right. But
From what I understood, I can look through it again, Greg.
All right,
The thing is that it's not all in one spot, there's several different places
I have
that
read that
mention
entire
specs.
book 2.5 times, and I make notes and pull it from every place and to get everything in one spot, so if somebody asks a question related to that, I can go through and tell them where it all
Right,
is.
right.
I know, but I'm doing okay.
No, you're doing a great job.
Any other questions? So,
Definitely, yeah. We can get working on this,
I
Greg.
would-
Definitely
I would-
stuff to consider.
I would
If we need
request-
clarification, then we'll get it done.
I would request then that you have the zoning board and I get together and we'll see if we can come up with something that makes everybody happy. Thanks.
Yep. We can get working on that as well. Anything else for Greg? The reciprocal information agreement was in everybody's boxes. This is something that was sent to me from the Illinois Department of Revenue. Tim, did you get a chance to look over this?
Yeah,
To me, it seems like it's required of us.
they periodically update those agreements. My understanding, these agreements are for when cities request specific information regarding the taxes received from a specific business, such as sales tax, and I think this is a legacy item when the city had a sales tax rebate agreement with Dollar General, which has since
Yes, I
expired.
remember that.
And believe it or not, the department is paranoid about confidentiality in light of other state departments of revenue being hacked. And it's my understanding these things are just updated periodically just to remind all the municipalities when they request tax information from specific taxpayers, that's confidential, cannot be distributed to the public and all of that. So, like you said, it's just a routine formality for the most part, except for the part of just reminding of the confidentiality.
Right.
So,
Who is the chief executive officer of the municipality?
And I was looking at that, if we wanna add any names, I can, which is fine. You know, if any of the, obviously I could add the alderman. The only thing that concerns me about that, you know, it says in the code book that there's no document of the city that can be withheld from the alderman. You guys have full rights to examine any document within the city. The thing is with the turnover that happens within the city council, every time someone goes off, you have to submit in writing of getting that person off of there. With just the one person, you know, you would remove them and add the next mayor. That, to me, that would sound simpler, instead of going through all that time and effort. And since that there's no document that can be withheld from the city council, anyways, you know, there's no reason to have any other person but.
right, and I can't remember last time anybody from the city needing such information since the Dollar General agreement expired. So.
Right.
So I don't even think it's even required to have it on file. It's only, you'll have to have that signed again in the event that you need specific information from a taxpayer when the city would enter a sales tax rebate type thing, to get the specific numbers, just so that the correct amount of tax is rebated per whatever agreement is entered into.
Right. Okay, I will go ahead and enter into this agreement. Should I get a motion on that? I'll entertain a motion to enter into this reciprocal agreement on exchange of information with the Department of Revenue.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The Logan County Economic Development and Planning Board contribution request. Each year, I don't know if there was an invoice put in the boxes or not. It's a per capita for the new alderman. The Logan County Economic Development Partnership is ran by a gentleman by the name of Bill Thomas. Basically, he's an asset to the city in terms of economic development and planning. I believe he's a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. There's several different communities that are kind of members of this partnership. To use his services, he makes a contribution request of, I think it's $2 per capita of the residents. So each year for the last several years, as long as I've been on the board, we donate $3,000 to this Logan County Economic Development Partnership. I am asking the council to consider doing that again. Bill's done a great job. I mean, with what happened with the wind farm community donation and getting that sales, the business district going, he's been a very big asset. I feel it's well worth the contribution to do that. It's up for discussion. It's obviously up to the alderman.
Who's the other communities participating?
I think Atlanta, Middletown, I'm not sure about Elkhart. Middletown, Chestnut, and I'm pretty sure Lincoln is too. Or not, it's not Chestnut.
Lincoln hasn't funded them for years.
No, the city does themselves. He lost county he lost money.
No, he
from the
lost
county.
both the city and
He did?
Yeah. He lost the city before the county backed out,
Did he really? I was not aware of that.
so.
Well, you know, that's obviously up for discussion. If if you guys would like to reach out to Bill to get an idea of what his plans are or how he thinks this is worth our contribution, we can most certainly table it. Put it on the next agenda.
So far, some of the things that he has helped with is when we got the business district established, with his help, we did save, like $60,000 based off of where we were going and kind of putting us in the right direction. And then most recently, as Matt said, with the wind farms, I think a big chunk of the donations could be, he certainly helped facilitate that as well.
And he's getting a check from the wind farm, isn't he?
He is part of that community donation, yes.
As is Atlanta and many other organizations.
Not from the wind farm, I don't think. It'd just be Pulaski, Elkhart, and Broadwell are the only municipalities that get, as far as I was told, I might be wrong, I can check on
Tom was
that.
saying he was getting a check.
Tom did, but just the partnership, not the city of
That's what
Atlanta
I mean.
itself.
And we're talking about the partnership.
Right.
So, no, I say table it for the time being, it's my 2 cents, so.
Motion to table?
At what point, like, what do you want to know further?
Just what's all involved here, and why does the city of Lincoln choose not to fund him, and then why the county chooses not to fund him, so.
There is a quarterly report that is sent out. I can make sure you get a copy of that.
Fair
They're
enough.
fairly active. I'll entertain a motion to table.
I'll motion the table.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will be tabled to the first meeting in May. Moving on to backhoe balloon payment. Tricia sent out an email today,
This morning.
this morning. Should be a copy in everyone's boxes. I've read it. Will you give that to Darren? To bring Danny and Darren, to bring you guys up to speed. 5 years ago, we signed a lease with Caterpillar Financial for the backhoe that we bought from Altorfers. The terms of that lease were a monthly payment with a balloon at the end of $45,000. With talking with the salesman, I guess what he said is what a lot of municipalities do is instead of paying that balloon, they just release it. Matt Presswood's inclination is that he likes the backhoe. It's a nice piece of equipment. We've kind of come to the consensus that we want to try to own it and not release. That way we can have an asset. At $45,000, I looked comparable to ours. I figure it's worth at least 75. I think you could sell it for 75,000, maybe more. So to me, it's we were kind of under the consensus to pay the balloon and own the backhoe. It talks about the options that we have in that email.
I say we can just pay it off with our funds that we have. My only concern is I know the sewer is a tight fund, and it usually doesn't have an extra 15,000 sitting there. So that's why we did the options of financing that $45,000 or so over 3 years. The payments will be probably a little less than what we're paying now, and we can still split them like we did before.
I certainly want to keep the backhoe as well, and I would like to finance for the next 3 years for the same reasons.
And,
I agree.
And if in 2 years, we're in a good position that we can pay it off, we can pay it off early too.
Very
I
true.
mean, there's always that issue, if we get ahead and.
Okay.
As for who to finance with, I think the lowest interest rate of the three quoted.
Right. I mean, Caterpillar Financial they were the second lowest, but obviously we want to keep our business local. So if you want to go ahead and move forward with that, Tricia, and get a
We'll just have to
get a
get the
promissory
payoff.
note, and then we
We'll
just
have to get the payoff from Cat first, because I think this would have been our last payment, the one in May. I'm assuming this one's for May.
June. I can.
Or
get
is there
that
one
for
more
you.
payment? We'll just need to make sure we know what the final payment is, what the
Okay.
payoff will be.
Okay. Alrighty. We will move forward that way. Is there any other miscellaneous business?
Oh, that's gonna be to the next meeting.
For more information, or because it wasn't here?
For more information, and plus, used to not up to speed.
Is there any other miscellaneous business? Tim, would you mind giving a quick rundown of the development board meeting last night?
Oh. Find my notes. If I can find them here, of course, they're not handy when you need them, so. Last night's meeting, things are moving forward with the co-op, they're finalizing the location. At this time, they are leaning towards leasing the Confestani building with the agreement that since Judy and Bill have offered it lease-free or rent-free for a year, that's moving forward. Also, there's gonna be a 5K King of the Hill run this summer on July 20th. Let's see. Everything else is fairly typical. Laura Voley's now working as the coordinator, and she's coordinating the grant applications and making sure the website for the city is up to date with all the events going on, and that seems to be working out well. And there is one grant that was approved, which we didn't have that on the agenda, come to think of it. So that is for Stewart's for Farmers Restaurant to bring their parking lot up to speed, and the additional amount that they asked for will bring up the grant amount to half of the parking lot expense. Everything else is moving forward. There's a town square committee meeting this weekend. Other than that, there's not much else. And the next meeting is going to be May 27th if anybody's interested in attending, so.
Can you please add business district appropriation to the next meeting agenda? The King of the Hill 5K, I believe that we're aware of, Matt is aware of that, I think.
Yeah, it was held last year. I don't think the weather was very good for
No.
it, but it sounds like from the organizers that they're well underway organizing it this year, and they're gonna have cash payouts for people that meet the criteria of meeting it, and they're gonna have electronic tracking instead of just trying to do it by ear this year, so it's gonna be a real formal event, so it's pretty impressive, the organization that's taken place so far, getting ready for it.
Switzer? Is that
Yes.
who's? Schweitzer's? Schweitzer. Yes, I believe, I'll double check, but I believe Matt's aware of that, and I believe they have the for the roadblocks and stuff to set up on the day of. I think last year the Hilltop Club did some type, they did some help as well, so great community effort for sure. Any other miscellaneous business? As a committee meeting, no motion to adjourn is needed. No one else has anything. We'll call this meeting to an end. Thank you for coming.
Are you serious?
Yes, please. I have to turn them in by May 1st, so.
Here,
Fill that out and give it back to me, please.
I know.
Since you're all on now. Can you fill in the next one?
Sure.
Board meeting, or is that-
I don't know that.
No, you can coordinate that.